Chapter 12. Flowers pile up at the Hornets' Nest Stadium. The Hillcrest Herald brings out a special edition. Hargy Cantwell dies. 17-year-old was the winningest pitcher in Hornets history. A town mourns. I didn't know him, but when you read about someone, when you know how fast he threw and how many batters he struck out and how tall he was, 6'1", and how much he weighed, 210 pounds, it feels like you know him. He had a heart attack. That's what people are saying. A boy that young and strong? I know that hearts can fool you. People don't think there's a thing wrong, and then it's too late. It's like a giant vacuum came and sucked up all the energy in Hillcrest. He probably had some kind of undiagnosed heart condition, a man whispers behind me. It happens to young athletes. They get dehydrated, stressed. No one sees it coming. I touch an electrode and look at the stained glass windows filtering in the light. Walt and I are at Peaceful Lutheran Church with the rest of the town. Cars are double parked on the street. There's no more room in the parking lot. Maybe if Hargy had worn a heart monitor, he'd still be alive. I'd never been to a funeral like this. The high school chorus sings, or tries to. Hargy's father stands up front and tries to say a few words, but he lowers his head and can't go on. I look over at Franny, who is crying. Bo is folded forward in the church pew. Their mom is sitting with her eyes closed. El Grande is looking at his hands. Sometimes loss is a thing so thick it hangs in the air. I'm sitting next to a woman who is sneezing, and this isn't good. I try to lean toward Walt because I have to avoid germs. I hate even thinking about it at a time like this. Walt and I change places on the pew. He's like that, my dad, always protecting me. Pastor Burmeister's voice cracks as he leads us in the 23rd Psalm. Walt puts his hand on my shoulder. We prayed this before my transplant surgery. We prayed so hard. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. We finish saying the psalm together. There's a hush as a big teenage boy comes forward. His eyes are red from crying. He unfolds a piece of paper and stands there looking at it. Then he reads, Hargy, you are my best friend. You knew that. I hope you knew I always wanted to be like you, to play like you. You always gave it all you had in every game, in every practice. We practiced for years, you and me. I'd always be the one who got tired first, and you always wanted to keep going. You always outlasted me. He stops to take a deep breath. He's crying now. Just know this, the team and me will always have an empty place because you're gone. Always. He stands there holding the paper, then he goes back to take his seat with the Hornets. The team walked down the aisle together before the funeral began. I don't see Coach Perkins, though. I look around, then behind me. I think he's the coach, sitting way in the back. I guess he couldn't find a place to park. Pastor Burmeister talks about knowing Hargy from the time he was a baby. I baptized him right here. He had so much energy inside him. How he will be missed. Pastor Burmeister looks at Hargy's parents. Michael and Delia, we will gather around you, this church, this town. We will walk with you through this valley, through all the shadows of this impossible loss. We will remember your boy, our boy. We will thank God for his life. One by one, people stand to say, yes, we will support you. We will remember. On the local news tonight, Coach Perkins stands by Hargy's poster in front of the Hornets' nest. Hargy was like a son to me. He was a brilliant boy, on and off the field. The coach shakes his head, his eyes filled with tears. I wish it was me in the casket instead of him. Baseball has lost a superstar at every level, high school, college, and beyond. I'll tell you that. We're dedicating the rest of this season to Hargy Cantwell's memory. He was a gift to all of us. He was a gift to us all of excellence, strength, and fierce courage. A blanket of sadness covers Hillcrest. People light candles and put them in front of the Hornet's nest. People are quiet, on the bus, in the stores. The middle school plants a tree by the baseball diamond in Hargy's memory. At school, there are extra counselors around for kids to talk about Hargy's death. In English, we talk about how to construct an interesting opening sentence. In civilization class, we talk about ancient Greece. In science, we talk about what happens when atoms split. At lunch, we talk about the rumors. Did Hargy really have a heart attack, or was he drunk, like some say, on drugs? Riding his bike so fast his heart stopped? That can't happen, of course. But everyone is trying to understand what happened in their own way. The only good news this week comes from Dr. Dugan. Walt grins as he tells me, your blood work looks good. Blood pressure is just a little low, but Dr. Dugan doesn't want to change your meds yet. We'll see her in the transplant team next week. He high-fives me. Right now, I'm at the public library that's between the high school and the middle school. It has a place to remember Hargy in on one of the reading rooms. A long piece of paper hangs on the wall, and people write about their memories. There's a bench you can sit on to think about him. I'm sitting on that bench thinking about his fastball ripping across the plate. I'm thinking about myself a little, too. I don't want to sound selfish. I mean, a kid has died. But I gave up a lot to come here, and now everything is changing. I feel awful even thinking this way. Franny and Benny walk into the room. Benny takes a green marker and carefully draws balloons with strings on the wall. Can you sign your name? Franny asks him. Benny shakes his head. Yes, you can. I've seen you do it a lot of times. How many? Benny asks. Franny thinks about it. Over 151 times. Benny writes. Next to Benny's balloons, Franny writes, Dear Hargy, thanks for showing me about working hard and never giving up. Your fan forever, Franny Engers. They see me now and sit with me on the bench. Benny kicks the back of the bench with his feet again and again. I wonder if he can understand about someone dying. Benny whispers loudly, Hargy died like Mufasa. Franny nods. That's right. She turns to me. Benny's favorite movie is The Lion King. Benny's face gets serious. Scar is bad. I nod. Scar's a bad lion. Scar let Mufasa, the great lion ruler, die. More bench kicking. 42, Benny says. Jackie Robinson. I smile. Jackie Robinson is my favorite ball player. Franny looks at him. How many hits did Jackie Robinson have, Benny? I know this. 1,518. 1518, he says. 1,518. This kid knows that? Franny asks, how many home runs did Jackie Robinson have, Benny? I know that too. 137. Major bench kicking. 137. I'm looking at Benny. That's very good. Very good, he says. Franny, that book you wanted on Canada is in. A librarian tells her this. Franny goes to check it out. Benny and I wait for her. I say, Benny, how many bases did Jackie Robinson steal? He shakes his head confused and shouts, No! Franny turns to look. No, Benny says. Hey, I'm sorry, wrong question. I smile at him. 42. That quiets him down for a minute. I don't mention that Mariano Rivera was the last player to wear the number. Franny has her book. We go out the door. Benny decides to shout, No! One more time. I try to change the subject. Are you doing a report on Canada, Franny? She looks down. No. My dad and I lived in Toronto one summer, I mention. It's great there. She doesn't say anything. Have you been to Canada, Franny? It's a big place. That was stupid. Everyone knows it's big. She shouts, I've never been, Jeremiah. Is that okay with you? No, Benny yells. I didn't mean to. I don't want to talk about it. Franny grabs Benny's hand and walks off. I stand here watching them go. What just happened?